I gotta sit up straight. I need to get one of those things. Hi, I'm Kimberly Miller with the Palm Beach Post, and I cover weather, climate, and the environment for the newspaper. We wanted to do this special Facebook Live today to give you a chance to ask questions about Tropical Storm Dorian and its potential impacts on Florida. We'll also go over how to read the forecast cone and talk about what you may want in your personal hurricane kit before a storm threatens. Now, considering Dorian might reach Florida over the Labor Day holiday, it's important to keep an eye on this storm and look for regular updates. It's a small storm with tropical storm force winds extending out only about 40 miles, and small storms can be unpredictable. They can ramp up quickly or fizzle fast. That's because small storms don't need a large area to organize, and only a little bit of dry air can make them fall apart. So before we do the forecast, let's look at the environment that Dorian's in right now to give you a sense of some of the unpredictability that the forecasters are looking at right now. Here's the GOES East satellite image of the tropical Atlantic, and Dorian is down here. I'll zoom in. It is just south east of Puerto Rico, and over here you'll see this large vast piece of Saharan dust that came off. NOAA just looked at this and said it might be the biggest piece of Saharan dust that came out this season, but that's not going to help us at all with Dorian at this point. Here's the infrared image of Dorian, where it is right now, and the other thing up here is TD6. We're not going to worry about this at this point. That could be Aaron, but it's not going to impact us. So here is the environment that Dorian is in, and one thing that is keeping it a little in check right now is it's surrounded by dry air. It's kind of brushing it off, but if it gets a little bit stuck in there, it could break it up. Big storms tend to bully through roadblocks like this easier. The dry air you'll see is the reddish orangish hues. And one thing to notice too is that once it gets into near the Bahamas and north of Hispaniola, there's not a lot of dry air there. So that's one thing we'll talk about later also. So again, this is Kimberly Miller with the Palm Beach Post, and we're doing this special Facebook Live today just to do an update on Tropical Storm Dorian. Please ask questions throughout the Facebook Live, and I will do my best to answer them. Dorian could impact South Florida or Florida this weekend. The most recent forecast we have is the National Hurricane Center's 2 p.m. advisory. Currently, Dorian is a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm with a 5-day forecast track that includes nearly all of the Florida peninsula in the cone of uncertainty. Right now, there is a hurricane watch for Puerto Rico, and Dorian is expected to pass near to the south of the island with 70-mile-per-hour winds tomorrow. The forecast then takes Dorian between Puerto Rico and Hispaniola and into the Bahamas. That puts Dorian off our doorstep early Sunday morning as a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. And remember, that's a strong tropical storm. A Category 1 hurricane is 74 miles per hour. So one big change that happened today is the forecast track did thread the storm through the pass here between Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. And the reason that's important is because Hispaniola has mountains that are 10,000 feet high, and they are very good at shredding storms that go over them. But if Dorian makes it through this pass without getting hit or without going over those mountains, there's a better chance that it would stay intact and then intensify as it hits the Bahamas and the really warm water in the Bahamas as it approaches Florida. So again, Florida is in the hurricane forecast cone, everything from Jacksonville to Cudjoe Key I looked at earlier. And here's one image. You can find this image on the Hurricane Center's website. I like this one because it's interactive. You can zoom in and look at the different time scales. So here is Dorian at our coast, and you can even click on that and it will show you what time. Now that's Dorian making landfall Sunday morning at 8 a.m. in Indian River County. But the thing that's important to remember, I'm totally going off script here, so I'm sorry, Joe, for just doing my own thing. One thing to remember is that you don't want to focus on the skinny black line, right? You want the hurricane can go, or the tropical storm can go anywhere in this blue forecast cone. And at 5 days out, there's about a 230-mile air track on the cone at that point. So that's why it's so big. Again, it'll get smaller as it gets closer to Florida. All right, so where were we? Again, please ask questions if you're just joining us. This is Kim Miller with the Palm Beach Post, and we're doing this special Facebook Live to go through the hurricane or tropical storm Dorian forecast. One of the caveats with this system, and that could radically change it again, is if it goes over the mountains of Hispaniola. So the official forecast track as of 2 p.m. has Dorian going through the Mona Pass between the two islands on early Thursday, and missing the mountains of Hispaniola. If it does hit the mountains, it could fall apart. Forecasters are really waiting to see what happens on Thursday. We'll probably have a really good idea of what's going on. It could end up as a tropical wave or just rain for us, or AccuWeather is actually forecasting at this point the possibility of it being a Category 1 hurricane. And remember, the official National Hurricane Center forecast has it as a strong tropical storm at 70-mile-per-hour winds. So Category 1 is just 4-mile-per-hour winds faster. There's still a lot of uncertainty with this storm, but the National Hurricane Center is slightly more confident on the track, and that's because where the Bermuda High is, really that's what's going to be steering it. The Bermuda High is over here in the Atlantic, and it's Dorian's kind of riding underneath the Bermuda High. But then the weird thing is that TD6, which is right up here, kind of nudged the Bermuda High over. So they're thinking that Dorian's going to find a weakness in the Bermuda High, but then once TD6 gets out of there, Bermuda High is going to move back over, and depending on how close the Bermuda High gets to us, that is really going to be where Dorian tracks. Okay, so one thing we wanted to do is play a video we put together that talks about some of the things you might want to do as preparation for this storm. But I do have a question here, I guess, from Andrea. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the question. Andrea, will West Palm Beach be affected? Andrea, it is too soon to tell. That's one of the things, I hate saying that. I really do. People are asking me all day today, are we going to be affected? And I hate saying it's too soon to tell. But what you need to know is that we are in the cone of uncertainty, and that means that the storm is expected. The federal forecast from the National Hurricane Center has it as a high-end tropical storm hitting basically the center, hitting Indian River County on Sunday morning, but the whole peninsula basically is in the forecast cone. So that's why it's especially important with this storm to pay attention and keep up with the updates, because one thing the National Hurricane Center said it especially at like the most recent conferences, is that they've done surveys, and what they hear from people is that, oh, we saw the forecast and it was just going to be a tropical depression, and they didn't look back, they didn't check back, and then the next thing they know, they have a tropical storm or something on their doorstep. So especially with this storm, with Dorian, you want to keep up with the updates, and we'll be we update our website all day long, and probably be doing daily Facebook Lives also with updates. And again, tomorrow and Thursday we'll have a much better idea of where this thing's going to go. So okay, let's play the video. So regardless of where it's going to go, you want to have your stuff together probably at this point. Go shopping and have your pack ready. So let's play our preparation video. Do we have that ready? There we go. A hurricane watch is no time to panic. You still have 48 hours before hurricane force winds are supposed to reach your area. What you want to do is listen to the National Hurricane Center and your local emergency officials. But there are some things you can do beforehand to make your life easier. You don't want to be like her. Hurricane season begins June 1st and runs through November 30th. So if you live in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, all the way up the eastern seaboard, you want to be prepared. When a hurricane watch is issued, you want to make sure you get gas and money. You can make your life a lot easier if you have a plan and a kit together. These are some of the things I've gathered over the years and things that you might want to consider having in your kit. Wet naps, just in case you're somewhere that doesn't have running water. Light sticks. This is a tiny thermal blanket. It might come in handy if you have to go to a shelter. Raincoat, for obvious reasons. Rain pants, a gallon of water per day per person, and again for 3 days. I also carry a backpack with enough clothes for 3 days. A key thing is having enough light. This is a light and a NOAA weather radio and a charger for your cell phone. You want to have your important documents somewhere safe, like in a Ziploc bag. This might be a little strange, but I packed this. It's a sarong. You can use it as a towel. You can use it if you want to change modestly if you're in a shelter. Rain boots. This is just in case you get in trouble. It's a whistle. It has a compass on it. And I also have waterproof matches. Bottom line is, nobody wants to deal with a hurricane, but you can make it easier on yourself by being prepared. And never underestimate Mother Nature. Hi, this is Kimberly Miller with the Palm Beach Post, and if you're just joining us, we're doing a Tropical Storm Dorian update. We just played a video of some things that you might want to be doing, thinking about this week to get prepared for hurricane season and for Tropical Storm Dorian, because whether we like it or not, the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has Dorian on our doorstep Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, as a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. So one of the things we talked about in the video doing is filling up your gas tank, filling up your gas cans if you have a generator, getting cash, and making sure that you have enough water. And the rule is a gallon of water per person per day for 5 to 7 days. And Dave asked if I've started stockpiling water, and Dave, I have. I actually went to Costco Sunday and stockpiled water and piled it up in my little tiny house, and so now I have tons of water and snacks and plenty of batteries for the storm. Dave is also asking, when should he put his shutters on? Well, you know, that we went over that in a previous Facebook Live, and that's really a personal question about how much risk you're willing to take. One of the hurricane experts that I talk to frequently had put it like this: if it's a 60% chance of rain and you forget and you don't take your umbrella, so you're going to get wet possibly. If there's a 60% chance of a hurricane and you don't put up your shutters, there's a more serious threat, right? You could have damage to your house. This person, the hurricane expert, his rule of thumb was to put up your hurricane shutters when a hurricane watch is issued. And a hurricane watch means that tropical storm force winds are expected in your area within 48 hours. And they use tropical storm force winds as a measure because they don't want people out there trying to put up their shutters with the wind going crazy and blowing. So that was his rule of thumb. There's an editor here who said she'll wait till there's a hurricane warning, which then gives you 36 hours before tropical storm force winds are expected to arrive to your area. So that is that question. But again, it's personal. Some people today were talking that they weren't going to put their shutters up until it's a Category 2 storm. So, all right. So someone is also asking, do you think flights out of Palm Beach International this weekend will be canceled or rescheduled? You know, again, it's so early. It's too early to really say how we're going to be impacted. If you look again at the forecast cone, it is huge. It's got the whole state, the whole peninsula in it, and it could hit anywhere from, Jacksonville to Kudzu Key. Where is my thing? So I think we need to wait. Thursday we'll have a better idea on the track forecast and the intensity, because at that point on Thursday it will have made its way through Puerto Rico, through the Mona Pass here between Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, or over the mountains. And again, if it goes over the mountains of Hispaniola, it might fizzle. That's what's making some of the forecasters crazy with this storm, is that it's just, there's so many uncertainties. One, because it's so small, and two, because they don't know exactly where it's going to track. I like this picture too, because we see like all the dry air here that's in front of it, and there's Dorian down here. If it gets a little bit of that dry air, it again could fizzle. But then once it gets past Hispaniola, look, there's not a lot of dry air up there, and the dry air is signified by the oranges and reds. So again, if you have any questions, we're going over Tropical Storm Dorian update, and I just said that there's a lot of uncertainty with the storm. Oh, we have a question. A comment. Be safe with your generators. That's a good point. I mean, even during Irma, we had people that that died because they put their generators in their garage. The generator needs to be outside. It cannot be anywhere where you're going to smell the fumes. Okay, so, all right, this morning the National Weather Service had a special forecast, and they're going to do one every day leading up to Dorian just to give a sense of what we can expect. And again, they were again stressing the uncertainty of this system. One thing they did say is that we're going to have a lot of rain, and we're going to have a lot of rain before Dorian even gets here. So this is the forecast through Sunday, and you'll see the red. We're up to, well, almost 4 inches or 5 inches of rain. And we're going to have daily storms before Dorian gets here. The ground is saturated. There's been over, I think I checked today, it was 12 inches of rain at Palm Beach International Airport, which was 5 inches above normal. So there's a lot of water out there, and the South Florida Water Management District said that they are opening the canals, they are getting water out, they are sending it south, they are moving water ahead of Dorian to just make sure that we're not going to be in a flooding situation. This was one good thing too that we talked about, the National Weather Service update. Let's have, okay, Tom Peeling. I know Tom, former editor here. We miss you, Tom. Okay, when do you put up your shutters? All right, you're putting me on the spot, Tom. Okay, I did say this time that I might not put my shutters up if it's a low-end Category 1. So there, I'm probably going to be shamed for that, but that's what I was thinking. I think it's going to change every forecast, right? So tomorrow we might find out that it's going to be a Category 2. Again, that's the thing with these small storms. I hate to throw out this, but this is something that Ken Graham from the National Hurricane Center says. All of the Cat 5 hurricanes that have hit the U.S. were tropical storms 3 days ahead of landfall. So things can ramp up quickly. That's why you just need to keep checking in. Don't panic, don't freak out, but just keep checking in every day to see what's happening with the storm. Okay, so this is one thing that we went through with the National Weather Service this morning, if I can find it. These are going to be your best friends during a storm. This is a new graphic. It was introduced in 2017, I think, so it's really not that new. But it's the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds to your area, and they update this with all the advisories. So this one was, this one's updated at 11. There might be a 2 p.m. one. I mean, and it tells you, gives you a basic sense on when the tropical storm force winds will reach you. So on this map, it's showing, you know, early Saturday morning basically is when we could, the earliest arrival time. And then one thing you can look at is the most likely arrival time. And this is something that the Hurricane Center likes to give to emergency managers, gives them a better idea of what's most likely. So this one pushes it back a little bit. You know, might be Saturday afternoon that we might start seeing or feeling tropical storm force winds. And this is updated, and it's super helpful for you to know when you need to prepare. Also, if you're doing any kind of Labor Day weekend parties or barbecues, you're going to want to pay attention to this. The current forecast track's not looking so great for those barbecues, but you know, again, there's a lot of uncertainty, and we're just going to have to stay tuned and pay attention. And Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to know a whole lot more. I think we have another question coming in. Okay, Claudia wants to know, do we know approximately what size when it arrives? That's a good question, Claudia. That's a really good question. I asked the same thing from one of the AccuWeather forecasters today, and he's saying it's supposed to remain compact, but if it does become a hurricane, which AccuWeather is saying is very possible, a low-end Category 1, it would expand a little bit. So I know we're not talking about, you know, a Michael or a Harvey or an Irma, like one of these huge storms, but it might get a little bit bigger. Again, right now it's very small. It has tropical storm force winds that are 40 miles out on either side, and it could stay compact all the way till it gets to us. which means its impacts would be a lot smaller. But again, right now, all of the peninsula is in the forecast cone. So anybody needs to be prepared from Jacksonville to Kudzu Key at this point. Now that'll get smaller, of course, as the days go on, and we'll be able to narrow down where it might impact. All right, I have another question. Adrian, should outside furniture be removed with a tropical storm? I would say yes. I mean, if it's easy, if it's not too hard, because things get blown around. You've seen just a normal thunderstorm afternoon. We get a downburst and things are blown all over the place. So to keep your own property safe and your neighbors safe, you might want to bring in your furniture if there's a tropical storm, and if it's not too cumbersome. I mean, I have some giant plants that are so heavy, I probably won't bring them in for a tropical storm, but the furniture I probably would. Okay, Samantha is asking, is that sustained wind or gusting wind? That's a good question too, Samantha. The sustained wind on Sunday, let's look at the interactive again, which you can find on the Hurricane Center's website. So they are saying sustained wind of 70 miles per hour, maximum wind with wind gusts of 85 miles per hour. That's when it's at our coast on early Sunday morning. So 70 miles per hour, again, that's a high-end tropical storm. Hurricane starts at 74 miles per hour. And again, wind gusts to 85 miles per hour. But this is just something we need to keep our eyes on at this point, especially with the Labor Day weekend coming up. People have vacation plans, so just keep tuning in every day. We keep our forecast up. We do all the advisories, and so it is up to date with the most current maps. Okay, I think we've been through most of what I had to say. If there are any other questions. No? Okay, so again, I'm Kim Miller with the Palm Beach Post, and we were going through the Tropical Storm Dorian update. Please give me... Okay, one question. That's okay.
John wants to know, is the west side of the storm always weaker?
The west side of the storm always weaker. Let me think about that. All right, so I know that the north front, the north right quadrant of the storm is usually the strongest part of the storm. And I took a class from Penn State. I got a certificate in weather forecasting just so I can understand what the meteorologists say. I don't make my own forecasts, but sometimes they talk in words that you don't understand. So the way it was explained to me is that it's the forward momentum of the storm plus the spin that makes that right front quadrant so strong. So the storm is moving forward itself, and then it's that whipping around that makes that one of the worst areas of the storm. So I'm not sure about the west part of the storm, but the right front quadrant I know is not a good place to be. Okay, is that all right? So we're good. So please, if you want to email me, I'm at kmiller@pbpost.com, or follow me on Twitter at kmillerweather, and we will be updating the website, and I'll be tweeting out updates through the storm, and hopefully that we're spared the worst of it. We'll just have to stay up to date. Again, thank you. This is Kimberly Miller with the Palm Beach Post.